But I am pleasantly surprised and happy that Triple H had adopted this mindset from when I last watched, didn't think was possible at all. Clearly did some good work with Dusty Rhodes and William Regal and maybe countless others who
Mm.
influenced this new era. And boy, has that picked up in spades.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has. It's a entertaining product. They say it every week. They're selling out however many venues. It's always interesting to see what the future looks like for those companies. I'm sure they'll take a big boost when they go to Netflix, but yeah, it's interesting to see one of them continue to surge, and AEW, which I mean, AEW will be around as long as Tony Khan wants to fund it and he thinks is feasible. I hope it lasts as long as it possibly can. I know all these old boomers want it to die because they're pissed off that it's already lasting longer than WCW did. But yeah, um, I'm hopeful. I don't want to hate any wrestling. And AEW isn't even bad. It's just uncompelling.
Definitely fall in that same bracket too, Tyrone. I spent enough
Mm.
time hating a certain wrestling company, that being the
Mm.
mainstream, due to the way I felt it insulted the intelligence of many hardcore fans like
Yeah.
myself and you and countless others. That time is happily over. And so much so that Punk was being brought back, which something would have thought would never, ever, ever happen. They must have changed their ways big time if where we're at
I
now.
mean,
So
yeah, they'd have to. Yeah.
you brought up a point as well, the old boomers hating. Do you think that's the main drive in all the headlines and clickbaits and media outlets that we see? What ticks me off is the fact that there is still a lot of negativity despite how good things are
Mm.
going. And as you mentioned, AEW is not even that bad.
No,
It,
I think
I,
they've made some horrible decisions.
yeah,
Number one was airing the Punk fight footage on TV. That went horribly. That was a terrible, terrible decision. Because I think that was given that what was going on in WWE, that was literally the week of WrestleMania 40, and AEW decided to follow up one of WWE's greatest ever achievements with that, and it went over like a lead balloon. It was horrible. And I think then the resentment, I think that AEW, I get that, WCW also always did this, WWF always did it. There's nothing wrong with taking shots at your competition. It's just that there are levels of pettiness, and AEW, the way they did it, just looked a lot more like children throwing mud rather than WWE taking, like Triple H saying having little slights during press conferences, if that makes sense.
yeah, it was certainly next level. It's not something we haven't seen through much BTE footage and episodes that I
Mm,
enjoyed over the years of the Indie
of
Revolution.
course. Yeah. But I
But
think the thing about that was that was widely accepted because everyone's watching WWE and it's like, yeah, we know it's crap. So thank you for pointing out that it's crap. Meanwhile, they're going, hey, WWE, we hate you. But everyone's just like, no, WWE's all right now. So they have this horrible little conundrum that they got to sort out.
they do, but negativity is clickbait, and I find that much when I do a Google search, all you'll ever see is a narrative twisting it to be a negative turn of events, fumbling the bag or whatever, and to bring it back
Yeah.
to CM Punk after everything we've discussed. What I find most outrageous is claims, right, of AEW not doing enough to keep CM Punk. Given the people involved, what more could they have possibly done? They gave him the champion twice. He didn't
Yeah.
defend it due to injury.
Yep.
And they brought him back after the greatest promo, as you say, in a press conference.
Hmm.
They still brought him back to redeem and give him a second
Greatest
chance. And
promo, but it was the worst PR blunder. Yeah.
yes, yeah, that he had a few good months of Collision, which I actually it was a weird time looking back, but I actually enjoyed. I felt it was back to going in a good direction, but clearly wanted out and looked for any way to get out by creating the Civil War.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on that, as well as the idea that AEW didn't do enough? Because I reckon that's just crap.
I don't think they didn't do enough. That's a lie. Tony Khan let do whatever he wanted. He gave him his own show for God's sake. Like
Yeah,
you gave the man a literal TV show.
bloody
If
oath.
that's not doing enough to save him, I just think that the locker room didn't do enough to save him. Like Punk might be an asshole, but he is not lying when he says that like I'm the biggest draw this company has, and that should come with some caveats. I mean, it shouldn't be an excuse for him to act like an asshole, but it kind of yeah, the way that the young bucks act, everyone kind of like looks at them now and she's like, oh no, you might actually be kind of real life pricks, I think. And I think it's just like, yeah, massive egos, they all get into a room and then just not going to work. I think that uh, Hangman Page is probably one of the best characters in wrestling going on right now. But unfortunately, every now and then, the Punk stuff still comes up, and yeah, Hangman was unprofessional in the way he acted. I don't think Punk did anything out of character except for calling him out on TV, but whatever. Um, I think that yeah, it was just written on the wall the second time. Punk didn't want to be there. He got his own show, but I think you can see how happier he is at WWE. He's probably getting paid a lot more, or maybe not. Kind of hard to tell with the guy, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we won't take away how happy and how good it is to have him in a really awesome spot in wrestling. He's
Yeah.
certainly been the biggest talk, whether he's been involved or not, including the 7.5 year absence. Every second day there would be speculation. Oh, he's coming back. I certainly don't miss that because that's just desperate attempts for clicks.
Mm.
So no, good to see him in a role. What were your thoughts when he came back, and how did you perceive, given the burnt bridge he was at before, enjoy what he
I
was doing?
freaked out when he came back after Survivor Series. I mean, it'd be rumored for weeks, and then to actually see him walk out on a WWE stage, that made me go absolutely nuts. I went mental for that. Promos for the few weeks afterwards, didn't love it. I mean, he got like decent reactions, but it wasn't until that Cody promo and then him and Cody being the last two at the Rumble, it was great. Before she got injured. But I think that unfortunately, no, we did mention that AEW didn't do, and like they definitely tried, or Tony Khan at least tried, but at the same time, the forces pulling him back to AEW were like massive, and the forces pushing him away were massive. And I think with Punk, I think you could buy him a golden pyramid. But if you said he was kind of an asshole that one time, I think he's going to take that. He's going to take that comment, which is going to be worth way more than the fact that you've done this for him. So that's the way I'm looking at. I perceive the way he thinks, and he's got to get even as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Punk cannot not have the last word, basically. It shows in all of his promos, but yeah, it was fascinating seeing him come back. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Hopefully, fingers crossed, with a clean run to Mania.
Yeah, same here. Now, I can't commend enough what he's done recently. It did take me a bit of time to understand what the hell happened from walking into AEW saying that he was not going to return back to the same place that got him sick, yet he was there. So I'm thinking, this is my hero being an absolute hypocrite 101. What the hell
Yep.
is going on? It
He never
wasn't
wanted to
until
leave the
that,
place in the first place or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and then saying he's come home, which was
Yeah.
apparently one of the promos he said of like, this guy's a goddamn idiot.
Yeah.
What is the and being having hero worship the guy? It made it a big clusterfuck in my head.
Mm.
So biggest peacemaker for me when it came to watching and still enjoying CM Punk was that closure we got in the interview with Ariel, where he discussed the AEW, because I felt like it was totally not going to be talked about ever again and that we were just going to forget that even happened. I want to feel the way Punk came in, like it still meant something. The fact that he came out to MJF in that with the ROH song and the ROH shorts, like that still means something. I don't want that to be stained just because of the bipolar personality that Punk can be. But that interview really did a lot to close that part in my mind about how he felt about it. And ultimately, when he said there was more good than bad, that's good.
But then he
That's
spent
good
that
enough
whole
closure for
interview
me.
complaining about it. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, It is a case of negativity bias where, you're always like, five times more likely to speak about a negative experience than a positive one. But yeah, it was just like that whole interview was, yeah, very eye-opening. And I'm surprised that AEW hasn't sued the pants off him off that one.
Their way of doing it was airing the footage.
Yeah, yeah. Getting their own sense of weird closure. Yeah.
Certainly, as a fan, I felt that was really good. Don't necessarily agree with the lead up to Jungle Boy, where he said he had a chat with him, saying not to use real glass. And I don't
Mm,
blame Jungle Boy. I don't blame him for the pre-show matter either, because from where I see it, Jungle Boy probably observed and saw all the weird shit that was happening on Collision, supposedly with banning wrestlers from the show because it was Punk's show. So that was Jungle Boy, I reckon, saying, you know what, you're not going to walk over me like everyone else. You're real glass, cry me a river.
yeah. I mean, it would have felt like, I mean, it is something that happens. Like, you think that sometimes felt this in various workplaces I've worked at, just because you are a bit younger, means that you're not quite taken as seriously as sometimes. And getting your point across actually gets difficult because of a lack of seniority. And if that is actually what I said, something like that might have been the case with Jack Perry. He was, I feel like Punk was there's a very good chance that Punk was kind of just going like, listen, kid, sort of that sort of vibe, I guess he might have been throwing at him. I don't think anyone, any young person wants to hear sort of that idea of, yeah, complete condescension.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, to backlash the way he did though, Perry, just not on.
Probably not. Probably not. I don't blame him. Probably not the best way to do it, but I don't blame him
Mm.
because seeing in the footage, he wasn't
No.
backing down, and that is given you mentioned the testosterone and the egos. Certainly, never
Yeah.
one to back down, and I don't think you can back down. Certainly, when you're dealing with the high school mentality in an AEW, and that was probably the worst period where you saw that high school clicky mentality come through. And you might enjoy the drama, Tyrone, whenever we have a chat, but I certainly wish nothing forward because I want to continue enjoying all the best that it could
Mm.
possibly be, and I will always
Yeah.
think it's a tragedy how that Punk thing didn't work out, leaving all that money on the table and
Yeah.
not further telling the compelling stories that could have been told on screen.
I mean, there's a pendulum that swings in momentum, and unfortunately, AEW's momentum gets thrust the other way the moment that CM Punk gets up on stage for that press conference.
One of the craziest 21 minutes you'll ever see,
Mm.
but also raising eyebrows the fact that Punk wasn't even on the show, wasn't even injured, yet released that Instagram post talking about how he didn't watch Rocky 3.
I
What's
mean,
your take there?
oh, well, guy doesn't watch. I mean, Rocky Three's no one's favorite one, but I get what they're trying to go for. It is hilarious that every wrestler's seen Rocky though. They won't shut up about it. I don't know. I just found that whole situation kind of bizarre and funny. Yeah, it's like, yeah, dude didn't watch a movie and he thought it was stupid. So it's amazing, isn't it?
Look, this leads to one of the final things I want to discuss, which is the
Yeah.
recent comments about him supposedly wasting matches
Mm.
on wrestlers that were had. Do you think he's referring to Moxley, Hangman, or any of the people he doesn't like? Because the way I look at it is that just because you don't like the person you've wrestled doesn't mean it's a waste of time. Do you think that's just
Yeah.
him being petty?
So I was trying to figure it out whether he's talking about wasted matches in terms of the people weren't up to his status, which you could make a case for a lot of his early matches against guys who were probably just not quite up to scratch. Because you had that initial Derby match, and then afterwards it would be like, oh, here he goes, he's having a match on Rampage against like John Silver or something. That's a
Yeah.
wasted match. Um, or you'd have other matches where it'd be like against Ricky Starks, right? Where not a wasted match, but the momentum was completely wasted. So, there's a lot of sort of there's a lot of that. However, I genuinely think he was probably only talking about one match, and I think that was Hangman.
Oh, the Hangman match, one of the most historical matches for me, because I'd
Mm,
been the lifelong fan of Punk that I did, and the AEW was always meant to be the company he should have wrestled in. The fact that he
mm.
won the belt with both crowds seemingly booing each wrestler over the cheers, thinking this is crazy because I tried to tell within the wrestlers' eyes on the way to the entrance who's winning and who's losing, depending how that goes, but I
Sometimes you
couldn't
can, yeah.
tell. Sometimes you can, yeah. It's been known that that's the case. Punk coming out, he looked business as usual. Hangman coming out, he looked his eyes like popping out of his head, going, "Okay, no, I don't think he's going to lose." So genuinely did not know who was going to a new world heavyweight champion because hugely compelling in that regard. So I would hate to think that's the case, but yeah, he's a man with his own thoughts and that. But I think that would be where I see it incredibly petty. Just because he had a fallout with the guy shouldn't mean it's a waste. For example, I've had friendships that haven't worked out. Best friendships doesn't mean they've been a waste
Mm.
for 6 or 7 years. If I had a bad fallout, which I've had many, it's still been a period that I enjoyed at certain times and then didn't enjoy. So. But as we know with Punk, it can be tricky when he's on these interviews compartmentalizing
Yeah.
and rehashing what actually happened.
Yes.
Now, I'd say going into this Mania, very intriguing to see how he goes. He's still got that one-time goal of headlining Mania,
Mm.
which, what are your thoughts on that? Because I reckon WrestleMania 29, him and Undertaker was the only good match on the card.
Yeah. Yeah.
May as well have
Should
been
have
the
been
main event.
should have been a triple threat in the main event. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cena could have won
Yeah.
it. Just makes sense.
Well, he mentioned that on the Colt Cabana podcast, saying he wouldn't have minded if it was elimination triple threat and he gets
I
eliminated the first 2 minutes.
I wouldn't have liked that. I think that having Punk Cena Rock, given that the Punk and Rock storyline that had taken place a couple of months beforehand, that triple threat kind of wrote itself, but you got to do the same match, but worse, I guess. What do you reckon his Mania match is then?
The way it's shaping up, I reckon Punk, McIntyre, and Rollins
Mm.
triple
That
threat
yeah, it's
elimination.
I think of any there are a number of combinations. I think all of them include Punk and Seth in it though.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Regardless, it will be intriguing, and I'm happy to be an intrigued fan again of CM
Mm.
Punk, especially with the Drew McIntyre rivalry feeling so real, the blurred lines of reality and fiction. He's had no issues doing that. It was often completely crossed in the end of AEW, which is ultimately why it
Yeah,
didn't work. That's when it went too far
yeah,
because that's the whole we've discussed before. That's the whole Deadpool matter where you're breaking the fourth wall, but that went into the fifth wall if that was possible.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
A funny quote as well. Love your thoughts on this matter. When I was reading Hornswoggle's book, his autobiography, he happened to be best friends with Punk or very close friends. They had a fallout. Hornswoggle discussed it in the book. And one of the biggest things that stood out was the fact that when he was going in WrestleMania 29, one of the main event, eventually had to wrestled Undertaker in the only good match on the show. But Hornswoggle's quote said, "If CM Punk won the match and was happened to be the guy that broke the streak, he would still have something to complain about."
Yeah, true. He'd be complaining that it wasn't a main event,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. I'm like, what the fuck does it matter? You've been broken the streak, and
Right?
you've so
He'll
yeah,
be
a
like, then why
man
didn't
that's
go on last?
yeah. Look, I get you got to be headstrong in a cutthroat business. I'd say only the biggest and best have done that, even if they've been disliked. We know Triple H has overstepped his mark in probably championship reigns that maybe went on too long, or the reign of terror, as
Yeah,
as they call it.
yeah,
Ultimately, that led to Batista getting over in a big way, which was
yeah,
all good in the end. So we've seen in history that that's been the case. Obviously, Hulk Hogan as well. From here on, no matter, regardless what happens, I want to continue enjoying it from afar and not be too brought down by the negative stuff. No doubt there'll continue to be clickbaits and that, but there has never been a better time to enjoy enjoy all aspects of wrestling, whether it be in Australia, the live shows are really good. AEW, WWE now, and even Impact with their crossover to WWE. It's been fun, and I can't wait to continue for more of the good stuff.
Yeah, exciting times.
All right, I think we'll end it there, Tyrone.
Yeah. No, pleasure, Luke. Thank you for that.
That's all right. Anything more to share about Punk and Straight Edge?
No, not particularly. I think I've said everything that I've observed over the last 7 years of being a wrestling fan, so on 9 years now. But yeah, it's a wacky way world, and he often finds himself as the nucleus of that world, um, and the drama that goes on in it.
Most talked about wrestler for the last 20 plus years, and will
Mm.
continue to be. And what
Yeah,
was interesting about it as well within his aerial interviews, that he still feels there's a number of years left in in the ring. So oh,
many of
that
that. He
that
left.
brings
He
on.
left. Yeah, he left a lot of them out. So I'd be interested to see how long he can go for.
Yeah, no, great stuff. And I'll end this episode with a joke. Uh, related to what we've discussed. You may have heard this once before, but before becoming one of the biggest WWE superstars of all time, The Rock, he was addicted to heroin. Fortunately, though, he decided to lay the smack down.
Well, well done. Well done.
And
Yeah, we don't mind that one.
that that sums up our episode today. Tune in for more. See you at the next one.